We're joined by Bill Cunningham with the Bill Cunningham Show. Cameron Gray, take it away.
Bill, I mean, listen, I don't even, honest to God, when I found out that Bill was available tonight, I actually got emotional because Bill, I know you know this, but Bill Cunningham is maybe the reason why I'm in talk radio today. When I was in high school in Orange County, Virginia, I would listen to 700 WLW, the big one out of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
You know, because at night you can get these major signals anywhere in the country, and I would listen to Bill Cunningham every night. And I loved it, and you know, the reason I'm in talk radio today, the reason I'm in right-leaning talk radio today is because of Bill Cunningham. And one time, John, when we worked on the G. Gordon Liddy show,
I remember,
we went to Cincinnati, and I actually sat in on Bill's show. And honest to God, still to this day, it's probably one of the greatest experiences of my life. And then Bill took me to one of his own restaurants in Cincinnati. So,
Bill, I remember meeting you out in Cincinnati, and I still have my WCKW. I still have my shirt in my closet. Had I known, I would have worn that shirt.
Guys, I'm humble and quietly proud, but, you know, to me, as somebody in this business for a long time, I know you guys have a little tacit connections with G. Gordon Liddy, who would take a bullet out of the street corner for a person that he loved. And I love the G-Man. And when I did my shows, couple shows after 9/11 in the Pentagon with Peter Pace and some others, I ran into the G-Man again, and that was a kick for me, because all of us have people that we rely upon in one sense or another, the light and the distance to where we work. And you guys are dating me a little bit, but I'm humble and quietly proud.
Well, Bill, I love you. I appreciate it. It's an honor to talk to you on the show here tonight. Before we talk about news of the day, tell us about your TV show. I'm very interested in the Bill Cunningham Show on TV.
Well, it's not going to be political. If you anticipate some sort of a political thing, I don't think that's going to occur. What it is, and right now we're in about 24 markets, including Washington, D.C.
Yep, Channel 50.
And, starting in September, I'm just coming back from New York back to Cincinnati, because starting September the 17th, we're going to be on the CW, which is going to be 215 markets all over the country. And essentially, it's classic conflict talk. My producers, I have 18 producers, and they try to find individuals in stress because of general misbehaviors of one type or another, and generally they're confronted by their loved ones or significant others to try to change and their behavior and quit inflicting their behavior upon those who care about them. And at the end of the day, we try to get them a therapist or some other person to help them along the way, to get them out of the ladder, get them out of the ditch in which they find themselves by throwing a ladder in the hole. So it's not exactly political.
Yes.
In fact, it's behavioral, but it's entertaining, a little bit slapstick, but I'm having great fun doing it.
Bill, would you call yourself more of a Morton Downey or a Phil Donahue?
I think I'm a Bill Cunningham, which is somewhere between Phil Donahue and Morton Downey, more leaning toward Morton than Phil, because, you know, one thing when we started this thing about a year and a half ago, we kind of agreed early on, I can't be Morton Downey Jr. because we've already got one. You can't be Jerry Springer. If you're going to be Jerry Springer, you already got one. If, you know, you can't be Phil Donahue. That's already done it. You got to be yourself, and it's kind of rise or fall based upon who you are as a person and what kind of entertainer you want to be and how interesting the stories are. When I left my producers this morning, and I said, look, you got to give me the pins. I'm a bowler. I got a ball in my hands. I can throw it. But if I don't have pins set up, if I don't have the guest upon which I can act and reflect upon and bounce off of, I don't have a show. So we did 150 shows. The season ended the 1st of April. We're going to start back June the 7th, do another 150 shows between June 7th and the 1st of February, and I'll be in New York City almost every week on Thursday or Friday. And both you guys, Cameron and John, you're both invited to, if you're in New York City on a Thursday and Friday, to come in and watch a taping or two.
We will now make our way up there, Bill.
Absolutely. Hey, Bill, by the way, it's John Popp. Could you talk to our bosses here and help us with that 18 producers thing? Because we got 3. We could use a few more.
Yeah, pretty much. If we're lucky.
I got 18. I got too many. And they work hard to find these people, because the key to these shows are the interesting characters. I mean,
of course.
Johnny Carson was the greatest of all time, and Oprah Winfrey was the greatest of all time. But in each circumstance, they had to have interesting guests that they played off of in one sense or another. And it's kind of my goal to have those interesting, provocative personalities that light up the airwaves.
Absolutely.
And the rest of it I can play off of, but I got to have the pins to knock down.
All right, Willie, so let's move from your TV show to your radio show there on the Big One 700 WLW. Do you think, let's look ahead to November 2012, and if, let's say you're a Vegas odds maker, is it President Obama or President Romney?
I would have said a month ago the odds are 70%. In fact, there was a betting parlor in London at the 1st of May that had it at 70%. They're down to 58%. And the reason it's happening is as you get closer to the election, I think more and more of the American people are going to say, I'm mad as hell and I can't take it anymore. Right. I mean, the idea of on November the 7th, if you'd wake up the day after the election and you got 4 more years of this, I think people would say, no, I can't do that. I think Romney is risky because on most of the important issues, he's been all over the map. But on the other hand, do you want 4 more years? Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And, of course, the answer is no. And so from my perspective, I think it's 50-50 at best. And I find myself, by geographical mistake, of being located in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the 4 counties around Hamilton County, which is in the far southwest corner of Ohio. We'll decide this election. I was watching John King on CNN 2 or 3 days ago, and he made the point that Hamilton County, Claremont County, Butler County, and Claremont County elected George Bush twice. In these 4 counties where I'm located now, in both elections, we gave Bush a plus 110,000 vote margin that allowed him to carry the state of Ohio. And in both elections, if he didn't have those 4 counties, he would have lost Ohio. Bush would have, which means he loses the election. And so, and I can tell you guys now that the excitement level for Mitt Romney is extremely low in these 4 counties of southwest Ohio, as opposed to what it was for Bush.
Okay.
It's similar to the excitement in 2008 for John McCain today. And something's got to change. You know, Mitt Romney is not the kind of personality like a Ronald Reagan or a Sarah Palin that walks on stage and people go nuts. He has the same reaction at public gatherings that I saw with Bob Dole and Bush 41 and McCain, and that worries me a little bit because if he can't come out of these 4 counties with plus 100,000, he cannot win the state of Ohio, and no Republican has ever won the White House without winning Ohio.
See, you talk about your reservations about Mitt Romney, but let's talk about a second Obama term. Can you imagine what could happen to the Supreme Court? I mean, that alone should scare anybody. It should scare anyone into the voting booth in November.
Imagine 2 or 3 more Sotomayor's.
Right.
2 or 3 more Elena Kagans, 2 or 3 more Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and that's what's going to happen. There are Scalia is 76 years old, Kennedy is 77. Either one could have an immediate health crisis, and the court flips completely for 30 years. We're not just talking about for the next election, 30 years. And what they would do to jurisprudence and what they would do to social issues, what they would do to congressional acts over the next 30 years would be unprecedented. We went through a 30-year stretch from like late 50s to maybe the mid-80s of a very, very liberal court in which William Rehnquist was always the conservative minority justice. But it flipped because of Reagan and Bush 41 and Bush 43. And we could go through a 30-year period where most of the liberals, the liberal thoughts from academia, would infect the body politic and be imposed upon 315 million Americans with the death of one person in the whole country, Kennedy or Scalia or Thomas or Alito or Roberts. One unfortunate death would flip the whole court for 30 years. And to me, that is a scary thought, gentlemen.
We're speaking with Bill Cunningham, the Bill Cunningham Show. So Bill, Cameron's got a good point here. There's a lot not to like about a second Obama term, but you've got a great point about just people not getting excited about Romney. What's your advice to the candidate? What does he need to do to engage the electorate and get them to want to come out for him?
You know, it's kind of like telling someone on stage to be funny. You know, it's time for you to act serious. It's time for you now to act something that you're not. You know, Mitt Romney, by every objective measurement, is a good husband, a good father, did a pretty good job in Massachusetts when he came into power in Massachusetts after 30 years of liberal Democrats. There was a $400 million deficit. When he left office, there was a $1.1 billion surplus. When the Olympics were in trouble in 2002, they brought him in 2001. He turned around a loss into a win. He streamlines government. He's a business leader that can get rid of all the duplicatable programs for jobs and job training and for food and all the rest. I mean, the federal government is fat and bloated. It's incredible. $200-300 billion a year is wasted. I think Romney would be a very, very good president. The problem is in the age of YouTube and the problem, at the age of Facebook with what's happening with their Facebook stock and all these things, that Romney looks uncomfortable in his own skin, which is okay. Lincoln was uncomfortable in his own skin. Thomas Jefferson made one public speech in his 8 years in the presidency. Truman was uncomfortable in his own skin. Richard Nixon did about half things right and half things wrong. But Nixon was uncomfortable in his own skin. And some of the most personable presidents have been among the worst, like Lyndon Baines Johnson. Personable. Grab you by the shoulders, look you in the eye, get you to do anything. Look at the Great Society programs and the damage that's wreaked upon American society. So the fact that you're not personable and friendly and backslapping doesn't mean you're going to be a good president. Mm-hmm. We need right now someone to manage the federal budget. We need someone to say no to the congressional excesses. We need somebody to pare down 2.3 million federal employees and the contracting, which is done all over Washington. And so we need someone like that. And that person is Mitt Romney, who's uniquely positioned of all the presidents we've ever had, running Olympics and running companies and doing all that stuff. He's uniquely positioned. But let's face it, guys, he may have trouble getting elected because he's not that personable, friendly John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton that connects at the endorphin level. And that's the problem he's going to have to overcome.
Willie, I know you're busy. One last question for you. I was in Columbus a few months ago, and I got to sit next to Margie Condit from there. You were just talking about Butler County, and she held a fundraiser at a shooting range, and the anti-gun people went crazy about this, saying, how could you possibly do this, which actually in turn made it a more successful fundraiser. Talk to me about your thoughts on the Second Amendment and your thoughts, especially in a second Obama term, about his attacks on the Second Amendment. And tell me if your callers and you are following and talking about Fast and Furious.
The answer to that is no. I think in Ohio, Fast and Furious is far distant and discreet, involving Arizona, involving Mexico. And the other thing is, because the Democrats know that gun control and the Second Amendment is a third-rail issue, they have purposely avoided it. But imagine this. Imagine one of the first questions you asked me, and that is the United States Supreme Court. Imagine a whole bunch of Sotomayors taking the place of Scalia and Kennedy and Thomas. Imagine what they would say about the Second Amendment and how they would limit those rights. And the answer is they would limit them greatly. And the Second Amendment is there because it's to defend the First. And although it was created in 1787 during an entire different time, one of the most violent cities in America is Washington, D.C., with complete gun control. And one of the more peaceful places, for example, is Cincinnati, Ohio. We have conceal and carry here. And every year in the city of Cincinnati, about 50 or 60 people are killed in the city of Cincinnati. I would say in Washington, D.C., with strict gun control, there's hundreds of people killed with strict gun control. In Cincinnati, there's few because we have concealed carry. In Cincinnati, if you rob somebody, you have to understand the likelihood is they're going to have a gun and you're going to get killed. In Washington, D.C., the criminal element knows there's a bunch of pigeons walking around with Rolex watches and credit cards and cash who don't have a gun in all probability because they're law-abiding citizens. So the reason that conceal and carry works is because it saves innocent lives, and liberals can't grasp that point.
Bill Cunningham, Willie, love you. You are a huge inspiration. You're a big, like I say, you're the big reason, the main reason I'm here in Talk Radio. It was an honor to have you on the show today, and good luck with the TV show, and continued good luck with the radio show, and hopefully we'll talk and see you soon.
Thanks,
Bill.
Bill.
Both you guys are great Americans, and let's do it after the election when Mitt Romney takes the oath of office.
You got it, Willie.
Thanks, Bill.
God bless America. God bless you. Thank you.